Welcome to Olympian Water Testing, giving you the best in water analysis. Today we're looking at EHS Today, where we are seeing how to protect your workers from contaminated drinking water. So if you're an employer or you employ someone and they're in the vicinity and you suspect there is contaminated drinking water, or you know that's going on, here's what you can do. And specifically, we'll be talking about one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous, heavy metal, which is lead. What can you do as an employer? So lead exposure is not a new risk to those who work in manufacturing, construction, and service sectors, and especially people who have worked in the past in the 60s, 70s, when it wasn't a widespread issue in knowledge of health, may have been contaminated with lead. But what do you do in current day? However, one of the most common sources of lead poisoning, contaminated drinking water, is often an overlooked area of concern on job sites and in the workplace. Although the United States government has been working to reduce lead exposure within the community for decades, concern among citizens has grown because of incidents like the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, and ongoing lead contaminant issues in New York, New Jersey. According to the book Happiness at Work by Jessica Price Jones, the average American spends 90,000 hours at work over their lifetime. So that's quite an extensive amount. With this much of our time spent at the office, on the road, or on job sites, it's equally important to be aware of the quality of your drinking water and vigilant about the potential sources of water contamination both at home and work. So, what are some things you can address? First, lines to exposure. In 1991, the EPA estimated there were approximately 10 million lead water service lines in the United States. So you can check with the building manager or with somebody who knows about that information. What type of lines do you have? Are they lead, or do they have lead solder? And are particles getting into that? Despite efforts to remove these lines and reduce exposure to lead, about 6.1 million lead lines remain today and continue to contaminate tap water of communities throughout the country. So that's something to take note. That's the first thing you can do, is check your lines and see what's going on. Even buildings without lead service are at risk for contamination, as many as brass. Iron pipes are soldered with lead. So you might say, okay, my pipes aren't lead, they're brass or iron. We're good, right? Well, how are they soldered? What are they soldered with? And the CDC reports some public drinking water fountains use lead-lined tanks in offices and schools. And that's another thing to check as well, your tanks. Water passing through these fixtures wears down the metal through a process known as corrosion, and trace amounts of lead are deposited in the water. Most consumers are unable to detect the presence of lead in drinking water by sight, taste, or smell. You can't pick it up with the five senses. You have to absolutely test for it. So it's imperative to find out what's in your drinking water. And we couldn't agree more, as we know that it can cause severe problems, even in adults, such as joint and muscle pain, high blood pressure, heart disease, difficulties with memory or concentration, headache, abdominal pain, kidney disease, reduced fertility, and mood disorders. Now, there are some myths like there's a safe level of lead exposure for drinking and cooking. If you watch this channel, you know that there is not. There is no safe level of lead in water at all. Only older buildings have it. Well, that's false. Most buildings constructed before 1978 are likely to contain some lead, but buildings less than 5 years older has lead-contaminated water as well because of the lead to solder pipes. And then sometimes you'll say, oh, well, my city's annual water report is clean, so my water has to be safe, right? Even if a city's water passes through lead testing, it can still get contaminated in your home. And all water filters remove lead. That's just not true. Some are only designed to remove chlorine or to fix the taste. Sometimes you have to figure out what filter you have. Now, there's ways to reduce exposure through reverse osmosis, ion exchange, but the best way to truly know, to know 100%, if you're an employer and you care about your employees, you want them to work at their best capacity and feel happy, is to have your water periodically tested for lead.